One of the things that scares the dickens out of me right now is this medical marijuana thing, and how we're going to deal with that with, all the sensitive areas that I have in my business. Driving trucks, I'm held liable for that. So this drug-free work program that we're on addresses that on a continuous basis.
Being a drug-free workplace has changed our culture in that the thought, again, that we would ever need it was very remote in most of our minds. I'm talking about, myself as the executive director, our board of directors. It just wasn't even something that anyone thought about. But then once we did, and then within 2 days we had this issue, it really it made all of us think a lot about it. So we're realizing that we are in a community that does have issues. And one of the ways that I sort of sold this to our board was to say that, I believe that we are showing the community that we're willing to take responsibility for that. And so as those of us, even those who think we would never ever have a problem, we're showing the community we're willing to do this. We're willing to put this forth. The assurance of knowing that we're doing the right thing by our community and by our board and by our volunteers and by our partner families, and the message that we're sending is well worth it.
Good help is hard to find. A person tests positive doesn't mean that they are a bad person. They've got issues. There could be issues at home. You got domestic issues, financial issues, other health issues that are impacting their lives, and yet they have a valuable skill. So rather than to throw them on the junk heap and say, well, you're a drug user or you pop pills, it's if we can get that gentleman or that lady to get those, manage that, then they can return to work and continue to be productive in society, continue to provide for their families, be that stable influence in their home, because that income is a stabilizing factor. And with it, you get a certain degree of stability. Without it, there's a lot of instability.
Within our restore on any given day, we may have volunteers from Job and Family Services that are helping to earn their food assistance. We may have community service volunteers from the court system who may have had they may even have drug convictions. So this has really been helpful for us to have this policy in place so that, if we run into issues with any of those folks, we know what to do.
Our role as an employer within the whole mess of drugs is just as important as the parent. So as an employer, you're handling these people 8 hours a day, sometimes longer, 5 days a week. You've got to make the impact, you've got to influence them, and you've got to support.
The reason why we wanted to become a drug-free workplace was because we were starting to notice some trends. We were noticing high absenteeism on certain days of the week. We were noticing theft of items. One of the things we noticed about the prescription drug issue was that some of the employees, and probably me included, at some point or another, innocently had misused prescription drugs. Innocently, but illegally. Somebody would give their prescription drug to a family member. They've got a headache or a bad pain, and they said, well, here, why don't you take one of these and see if this works? They were doing it. Sometimes they were doing it because they didn't have other medical access to medical care, and so they would, give a friend or a relative their medication. Again, not trying to get high, but just trying to get through the day. We found that was something that we had heard and we had seen happen. In fact, one of my employees had done that. He took a pain medication that his son had been given. I think his son played baseball or something. He hurt his foot or something, and he took a pain pill. And it just so happens that he got pulled for a random. We hope that our training at work does filter back home. We have no guarantees that it does, but we arm them with that information and tell them to be careful, be conscious, especially the issue about the prescription drugs, because there's a lot of families that share medicines. And so we try to get them to understand that's not cool. You can't do that.
The businesses in Central Ohio and beyond have such a unique opportunity. We essentially have a captive audience. Our employees come to work every single day. We get a chance to speak with them every single day, and we can infuse our conversations with all kinds of things. So there are 5 components to a really valued program, and a program that will sustain both the business case for having it as well as the employees who really need to be able to have the kind of support when an emergency or situation arises in their life or in their community. But the bottom line is we get a chance to be a voice to help them go through work-related issues, but nobody parks their personal issues at the door. They bring those too. So as an employer, the business case for us having a workplace that's free of drugs and alcohol is this great opportunity to be able to help employees whenever they're in crisis, directly or indirectly, because anytime anybody in the family or the neighborhood is in crisis, it's a distraction from work. So there's a business case for businesses to have great drug-free workplaces that also reach and kind of tentacle out beyond that to be able to be a community resource for their employees.